Hello there. I thought I would give my 2 cents on the whole Xbox situation that has arisen. There's also been some news with Sony as well. Um, but the Xbox One is probably more relevant at the moment and also kind of terrible and shitty. Um, Obviously, most people know that they've laid off about four different studios, particularly one which is was it Tango Games? Um, I haven't played many of their games. I think I've seen The Evil Within. I think I've maybe I might have played a demo once. I'm not sure. But four studios closed, and I don't know this. I obviously there are many different ways of looking at this, and very many different ways of this is a completely new situation. Obviously, you have Sony following the traditional console model, which is going to cause them problems in the future. That is guaranteed to happen at some point. But I mean, sadly, I I I have a suspicion now. Obviously, Sega, depending on how old you are, Sega they pulled out of the market in the console making market in I think it was oh god, was it 2000 or 2001? No, it would have been 2000, I think, just as the PS2 was hitting, or just after, and there was more financial. So obviously, Xbox or Microsoft in general, they're financially fine. But I think I do have a feeling that they are going to go third party. Um, Mainly due to the fact that, as I said in one of my comments from one of my videos, literally, they have made Xbox has lost its identity. It doesn't have an identity anymore. If you think of the 360 generation, right, and the Xbox, the original Xbox, I'm not so sure about because I didn't really own one, so I don't have a great deal of experience with it. From what I have played, though, it was kind of cool and very interesting console. But 360, you had your Gears, you had your Halo. These were stellar first-party titles that they were just good, but you had brand identity. Um, you don't have that with Xbox One, not at all, barely at all, and the Series consoles. And obviously, they have had something like a 30% decline in software in hardware sales as well. So, and my argument might be flawed for sure, and I'm probably not looking at certain things, not taking certain things into account. But just just a fan and a gamer in general, like yeah, Game Pass is both a blessing and a curse because on the one hand you've got Game Pass which incentivizes everyone to just pay Game Pass and you get everything that comes out first party, and that's a brilliant concept. It makes complete sense. But the problem is you've conditioned people to basically not pay for games anymore. You've essentially gotten rid of the traditional model that's been around for 30 plus years, going all the way back, well, my age group to at least the Master System and the NES generation, and even a little bit before that, I suppose, with your home computers, Amiga, Commodore. But you had a traditional model, and obviously that is starting to change now, especially with the rise of digital. Um, so that, but it's also a curse because, as I said, you're not selling games anymore. You're selling games, but people aren't buying them at all anymore. Game Pass has completely made that irrelevant. Whereas you look on, say, the Sony platform or even the Nintendo, and again, Nintendo they play by a beat of a different drum, if you know my meaning as such. Um, so they're not incentivized. We're not incentivized to buy games on Xbox anymore because at the end of the day, it'll come to Game Pass at some point. So that, and I know there are massive like I don't know, I don't know what the value of Microsoft is, but it must be enormous. But um, and I think they posted revenue, sky high revenue recently. I don't fully understand the ins and outs of the business, but so I do think unless they change course, they're gonna go third party. Everything I think will go third party eventually. I think you'll find Xbox will no longer make hardware, although they have said they are making another hardware. I think the only thing I can think of with Xbox that might help them or might bring back some brand identity and again, we're not taking into account first party games here because they have released barely anything in the last couple of years. There's been a few stellar games that have come out that have been reasonably good, but nothing standout. Is a handheld like the Switch, because particularly in Japan, more games are gaming on the go, and even the generations now, like the younger generations, like Gen Z. Gen Z is it? I think. They play games on the go. They're not interested in a console model. So, as I said, Sony are following the traditional console model, but that is also going to cause them problems in the future, because right now PlayStation and the mainstream system, they're the system that everyone really most of the time will go to, other than PC gaming, which is also a big contender. But Xbox don't really have to worry about that because they're already part of that ecosystem anyway. But so I do think they will go third party in the next couple of years. It's sad in some ways, and in some ways I hope I'm wrong, because you need that competition, because otherwise Sony in particular is just going to just run rampant, and they'll be able to charge what they like and do anything they want, and they won't give a damn, because let's be real, these are corporations at the end of the day. They're not there to be your friend. They want money from you, and they may pretend they believe in the gamers, but they have to report back to investors, and investors don't give a toss about real people, as you've seen with these shutdowns from Microsoft, the 4 studios that they've closed. I must admit, my heart does go out to these developers. What does, and this will be my last thing I'll say on it, what does wind me up is that developers are the people making the games. These people develop these games. They put their hard work into it. And I sometimes sit there thinking, don't have a CEO. Do it yourself. But obviously, people that have got this skill set may not have the skill set to market or anything like that. But it does wind me up. They make all the work, and then some top brass CEO then just gets all the is celebrated, gets all the potential money. I don't fully understand. Maybe I'm not understanding that correctly. It gets all the praise, and I'm sat there thinking, like, Jesus Christ, these people do the work. You guys do nothing. But that's probably coming from a more emotional standpoint than anything else. So, yeah, it's sad to see, and Xbox are not in good graces at the moment with people. We'll have to see where this goes. As I said, I think Sony are also going to have problems because the traditional console model, from what I've read, their sales are also stagnant. And again, Game Pass, the growth on that is stagnant as well. It's gone up like 1% this year. So and to be honest with you, people don't have a lot of money. So subscriptions are, I think, going to drop to some degree, especially if they jack up the price. They've been talking about jacking up the price on Game Pass, and they've done it already on PlayStation last year, I believe. But the difference is that PlayStation still relies upon a traditional console model. They sell their games, and although their games they release haven't been to my taste, God of War, Last of Us, they do sell quite well. And they have an identity, same as Nintendo. Microsoft just don't have that anymore. And it's sad to see. But I guess we'll see where this leads. I do hope they succeed, but I do hope they, and I know it's all financial and stuff, and you can't really be emotional about this sort of stuff, but I do hope they start treating the developers with a bit more respect and not leading them on, and they think they've got a safe, their job is safe, and then to just cut all these studios. And I know some of them are going to be absorbed, or some of the staff are going to be absorbed into other companies, but Um, I think the Activision merger is, in the grand scheme of things now, I was in favor of it at the time last year and the 2 years or so it took to go through. But I do think, in the grand scheme of things, right now at least, that could change in the future. I think this was a bad idea because this is put them in. I wouldn't say a black hole because I don't know the financials, but it didn't look like a good situation to me. And I guess we'll see how this plays out. And that's just my 2 cents. Like, my argument could be massively flawed, but um, I find myself relishing for the old days sometimes, where you bought a product, it worked, it was complete. But I'm getting old, so anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Enjoy your games, play what you like, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Anyway, thanks for the time.